They told me to hush, to keep my truth beneath polite silence, to smile through the ache, to make my pain sound pretty in prayer. But I ain't your puppet prophet anymore. I'm the storm that learned the shape of freedom while chained to the walls of a lie. I'm here for the reckoning, for the light that don't blink when it meets darkness, for every scar that became scripture and every secret that lost its voice to shame.
They said God's watching, but eyes that judged me weren't divine. They were human and hungry for control. They called it love, but love don't choke you when you speak. Don't rewrite your story to fit that comfort zone. They built cages out of commandments and called obedience holy, while my soul bled beneath their altars of authority. Control was dressed in scripture, wearing a halo of fear. They preached submission, but what they wanted was silence. And I was the mirror they couldn't break, so they tried to smudge the reflection with guilt. But you can't baptize a lie and call it truth. You can't gaslight the gospel and call it grace. You can't crucify curiosity and expect resurrection in the same breath.
This is the unmasking, the holy rebellion, where the truth don't whisper, it roars. I'm pulling light through my lungs, exhaling every hidden scar. If the truth burns, then let me be fire. If exposure hurts, then pain is my choir.
They said I was broken, but maybe it was the mirror crack, the reflection trembling at the sight of honesty. They touched my soul with hands of doctrine, scrubbed me raw in the name of purity. But you can't wash away what God designed. You can't cleanse what was never dirty. Abuse came in sermons, in the cadence of this is for your good. But good ain't supposed to bruise your spirit. Good ain't supposed to shrink your light. They wanted me obedient, but I was born electric, wired for questions, charged with divine rebellion. They said sit down, I stood taller. Said quiet down, I rolled louder. Said pray away to doubt, but doubt became my song. My protest, my proof I was a liar, because faith without fire is just fear in disguise.
And I ain't worshiping fear no more. They called it backsliding, I call it awakening. They call it rebellion, I call it remembering. They called it sin, I call it seeing clearly. Truth ain't polite, truth don't knock, it kicks the door off its hinges and says you knew this all along. My healing sounds like thunder now, every tear of baptism, every scream of scripture, every breath of prophecy fulfilled. Let me tell you about power.
It don't live in pulpits or pedestals. It lives in people who survive and still sing, and women who preach with their presence, and men who unlearn what control taught them, and children who refuse to inherit the silence. Power ain't dominance, dignity. It's the right to exist without apology. You can't cast out what was created holy. You can't demonize what God already called mine. So here I am, not a victim, a vessel, not ashamed, awakened, not lost, liberated. You wanted a puppet, but I became a poet. You wanted a slave, but I found my crown and surrender.
This is the unmasking, the holy